Coming to you from deep inside the bowels of a great big empty. Get ready for another episode of The Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show, and I'm your host, Skip Coryell, author of 22 books, Marine Corps veteran, founder of the Second Amendment March, proud father of 7, grandfather to 19 and counting, and as a special bonus, I'm also madly in love with my own wife. My priorities in life are God, family, and country, in that order, and I hereby promise to never compromise in my convictions. I may go broke, but I'll never go woke. And joining me today, guess who? It's my faithful co-host and adoring wife, Sara Coryell. Sara,
Yes.
talk to me about spring.
This was a winter to make you really appreciate spring.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, and spring just came so magically. It's been very beautiful. The crocuses are up. My daughter is delighted with everything she finds. She brought our first flower in from the yard.
Was it a daffodil? One of
Actually,
the yellow ones?
I'm not sure that I don't know the name. It was really quite small, actually, but
Well,
we were delighted just the same. It was the first. So.
it's still early. Yeah, I love the daffodils, love the crocuses. I love to see that those crocuses, they'll come right up through like the snow and through ice.
Yeah, they are.
So
amazing.
they
Hurry.
encourage me.
Yes.
They encourage me. And of course, amethyst is like anything pretty, beautiful, lovely. She's all over it.
Especially if it grows. She does like all the growing.
Oh,
things,
yeah. Yeah.
From animals to chicks to plants.
She wants a greenhouse.
And a farm.
How many 13-year-olds want a greenhouse?
With cows. She wants cows.
All right. Well, Sara, we got a good show today. Why don't you tell us what the folks can expect?
Well, today we're talking to Barry County Sheriff Dar Leaf about the wisdom of an all-powerful federal police force. Then, in the shootingclasses.com self-defense report, we'll be speaking with firearms instructor Ryan Coe about the hazards of going home with strangers in our shootingclasses.com self-defense report.
That should be good. Dar is, he's pretty knowledgeable. Anything that has anything to do with the Constitution, natural law, natural rights, Bill of Rights. I think he's going to have a lot to say about a overreaching federal police force, but I'm just guessing there.
Sure, it will be great.
Oh,
And
you know
back up with
Dar.
lots
You
of
know
good
Dar.
Constitutional facts. He's
And
good.
with Ryan Coe, I've already talked to him about this. Expect this week's shootingclasses.com's self-defense report to be, it'll have tinges of Jeffrey Dalmer.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Going home with strangers is a bad idea. Right?
Well, yeah, not always a good idea. Actually, it's never a good idea, but we'll talk about that in segment 3. But before we get too far into the show, let's thank our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range, and Apple Tree Media. All right, Sara, you got some good news for us today? I want something fun and happy.
All right, well, you got it. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has released a list of 5 invasive animals that Americans can hunt, catch, and cook. Eating invasive species can help protect native wildlife by reducing the numbers and limiting the damage these species can cause to the ecosystem. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service spokesperson, Erin Huggins, wrote in her list, which was published on the agency's website. Fox News Digital spoke to various chefs and hunters to get their take on the flavor profiles of these invasive but downright delicious animals. 1. Nutria. It's a native to South America. Nutria are invasive inhabitants of the Gulf Coast, Atlantic Coast, and Pacific Northwest, according to the Fish and Wildlife Service.
Nutria. I've seen pictures of those. It's kind of like a giant gerbil, right?
Yeah.
Probably fits in a crock pot really well. Yeah,
Reminded me of a groundhog.
they're really cute, warm and fuzzy, and man, I would hunt those probably with just a 22 rifle. That would work really well. Huh. I'm on this diet. I just wonder, what's the calorie count on a nutria? That's important to me.
It would be.
Yeah. You don't know?
Oh, no, I have no idea. Sorry.
Probably no one knows.
Well,
all right.
if it's a wild animal, it's going to be lower because it's
All right.
low fats.
All right. Well, that's the first one. What's the second one?
Northern snakehead. The northern snakehead, or Chana argus, is a sharp-toothed fish native to East Asia. These air-breathing fish can live outside a body of water for several days and are able to wiggle from one freshwater habitat to another, according to the Fish and Wildlife Service.
Oh, did you see the picture of those?
I did.
They are the ugliest things.
Well, this is just so weird of a creature.
Yeah, it was like almost reptilian or, very, very primal. I think looked like something from like, 10 million years ago. But I don't know if I'd want to eat that thing. But hey, I have an open mind though. And I have to wait and see what the calorie count is.
Right. Well, is it a fish? I don't know. Air breathing? What is that?
Air breathing. I think so. I think it's a fish.
Huh.
Anyways, there's too many of them and they're in the wrong place. So put a season on them, bag limit.
Maybe they'd make good bait.
Well, it was pretty big. That thing was like 18 inches long. What's the third?
All right. Green iguana. The green iguana is arguably the most visible of all the invasive animals on the list. Native to Central and South America, these cold-blooded invaders have made sunny South Florida their home away from home.
I think I ate one of those.
Did you know?
Yeah. When I was in the Marines down in Panama, in the jungle warfare training school, I ate some kind of a lizard. It wasn't green when I saw it. It was on a stick over a fire.
Oh, that would
So
change
it was kind of blackened and
Yeah.
I mean it was okay. It didn't taste like chicken. They say everything tastes like chicken. I wish that had tasted like chicken, but it didn't. But hey, I'm open to trying it. We'll see. Probably a lot of protein. What's number 4?
All right. Invasive carp.
Carp. Yes, carp. I was hoping you'd get the carp.
Another invasive fish is the carp. Big head, silver, black, and grass carp species native to East Asia are collectively known as invasive carp. Invasive carp are fast-growing and prolific feeders that outcompete native fish and leave a trail of environmental destruction in their wake, according to the National Invasive Species Information Center's website.
Yeah, we've got those all over here in Michigan. Yep. Remember last year in the creek going right through our property here, I came back up to the house and I said, yeah, there's a whole bunch of carp down, in the creek. That was it was in the spring, probably about a month from now. We should be able to find them again. But we speared like 24 of those things and then we canned them and they taste pretty darn good, don't they?
Yes. I think canning is maybe the key with the carp because they seem to be very very bony.
Lots of little tiny bones, but when
not that little, unfortunately.
Well, when we pressure cooked them, the bones seem to like dissolve or break down.
But like I use them to make like fish cakes, and so then you've pressure cooked them and then you recan them or like you refry them with.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised by the taste. The taste was pretty good. It wasn't a strong fishy taste at all. That movie that we always watch, Mr. Darcy, Pride and Prejudice, right? They talk about tench and carp. And what I didn't realize is that carp, back in the 19th century was only for like aristocracy and royalty over in Europe. But then they come over here to America.
Servants to remove the bones for them.
Oh, well, yeah, that kind of thing. But no, we'll get some more. We'll get some more in about a month, and maybe we can get another 24. They were like 2-3 feet long. They were big.
Very helpful to have that. I mean, food is just so expensive.
All right, and coming up on number 5, drum roll, please.
Number 5. Aha, we've had this one too. Feral hogs, wild boar.
Oh, yeah.
Feral hogs or wild boar, known by their scientific name Sus scrofa, are full-blown ecological disasters, Huggins wrote. Native to Europe and Asia, these animals can be found in the Southeast, Texas, California, and beyond.
Yeah. We're supposed to have some feral hogs around here, but they're not from like Europe or Asia or anything. They're basically hogs that have, gotten out of the pen, but now they're wild and they're breeding in the wild. The DNR always wants to know, wants you to report them if you find any when you're out hunting. Every year I want to find one because I'm going to shoot it and we're going to eat it. And it's like free pork. And well, you remember when I used to go to Ted Nugent's wild game farm, right? The Sunrise Acres. Boy, I would go down there and I'd shoot wild boar. That was some really good meat. It was like pork, but it was more lean.
It made me feel like it was the way pork was supposed to be, honestly. Like
Oh,
it was more alive. I don't know.
oh,
There was more
well,
flavor to it.
Ted will be happy to hear that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, hey, we got carp, we've got wild boar. I'm going to pass on the iguana.
Yeah, and I'm not real sure about that northern snakehead
Oh,
business.
I'm sure I'm going to pass on that one too.
Yeah.
And there's no nutria around here. I mean, we have groundhogs,
Yeah.
but we'll see. We'll have to get a groundhog this year. We need to eat a groundhog just to see what it's like. We should eat it right on the show in segment one. And I'm going to cook it. You are going to taste it on the air.
Okay.
Oh, come on. Where's your sense of adventure? Oh, come on. You are committed to this.
I'm,
You're
I,
committed to the show, right? You want to make it work?
well, yes. That's why I'm not sure that's the
So,
case.
well, you don't have to lie. If it tastes bad, you can tell me, all right?
I'll just be thinking about how cute it is. I mean, groundhog are really cute.
Okay. All right.
Why? We're terrible.
All right. Fair enough. Those are the top five
All right.
invasive rodents and fish and whatever. And now it's time for our home defense show, Hero of the Week. Who's our hero this week, Sarah?
Man credits Hero Lady for saving his life after two men ambushed him with assault rifles. All right. In Chicago, a case of mistaken identity almost cost a man his life on the south side. The man said he was ambushed by two armed men, armed with assault rifles, and only escaped when a bystander bravely intervened. The victim said he did not know the armed men, and he believed he looked like someone they were looking for. So often, people don't want to get involved when they see something bad going on. But Friday morning, a woman decided to intervene when she saw two guys pointing guns at a man, and that young man credited the stranger for saving his life. Oh, yeah, I'm glad, he said. The appreciation of life comes when one has a near death experience. Such was the case for a 28-year-old man on Friday morning. I feel grateful. I feel I had a second chance at life because of a strong hero woman, he said. The young man, who asked to remain anonymous, had just dropped his car off at a mechanic in the West Lawn neighborhood, and while walking near 59th and Lawndale, he tried hopping on an e-scooter. The incident happened not even a block away from the scooter. Two men in a dark Hyundai sedan with tinted windows pulled up. One guy hopped out with the AK, and I was focusing on him. Then I saw another guy hopping out with another AK, he said. The men pointed the guns at his head in broad daylight. He thought he was being robbed. I'm handing over phones and jewelry, the victim said. That's when the guy put the gun up to my head. That's when he just put one in the chamber. That's when the lady, this hero lady, just screamed, "Hey!" And they turned around and thought twice. That scream was enough for the two men to take off. She was a hero. She was Superman in a little white car, the victim said through tears. I'm grateful for another chance at life, another chance to see my unborn child. He said he's eternally grateful for the stranger, who had enough courage to step in when so many do not. God forbid they could have just turned their guns toward her and attacked her, he said. She didn't care. She didn't care. That one lady saved my life. After the gunman jumped back into the car, the woman called 911, providing a license plate number. She even returned to see if the victim was okay, telling him she did live in the neighborhood and she was tired of all this. There's hope in Chicago, and there's people like that lady that will step in, he added. Unfortunately, he did not get the woman's name, but he'd like to personally thank her with a hug and then an invitation to dinner if she'd accept it.
That is really weird. That is a weird story.
I love this story. It's so real.
Well, I like it too, but I can't believe that she had the guts to do what she did. That was just really bizarre. I don't think I would have done it that way. Hey you with the two machine guns.
She's just tired
Look
of it.
over here.
Yeah, she's just tired of it. She says she lives in that neighborhood.
Yeah,
She sticks
yeah.
with it.
Well, Chicago has seen more than their share of death and violence, murder, mayhem, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But they call them assault rifles. I don't know if they really were assault rifle. That's a machine gun. They may or may not have been genuine machine guns, but either way, man, you hold it up to your head like that, you're gonna be scared. You're gonna be terrified, totally terrified. I'm really surprised that they were scared off by by a woman who yelled at him.
She just showed courage. I think
Yeah.
she was done with this nonsense in her neighborhood and she put her foot down and, you know,
Talk about a command presence, huh?
yeah. Well, maybe they were cowards at heart anyways. They're running around, two of them with a gun on one guy who was unsuspecting,
Well,
you know.
yeah, that could
Maybe they
be.
were
And,
super brave anyways.
you know, the thing that these guys are most afraid of, they're afraid of dying and they're afraid of getting caught. In broad daylight like that, in the middle of the day, they can't hang around a long time. And I guess it's possible, if it was a case of mistaken identity, by then they could have realized this isn't the right guy.
Maybe.
And it's time to leave anyways. But I just think it was great that one citizen said, okay, I'm going to stand up. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to help thwart evil.
Right.
That's basically, that's what I got out of
Just
that.
beautiful. Well, and I really appreciated, I mean, the victim's gratitude.
Yeah.
He was crying about it. I mean, that's
Yeah.
beautiful gratitude. And sometimes people just, we got to practice gratitude and courage. Both are both beautiful.
And he might get a date out of this too. He wants to take her out to dinner. So, hey.
I think he said invite her over for dinner.
You think they'll get married?
That is way outside my range of knowledge.
Well,
I can't say.
He does owe her a lot.
He does.
He does.
Yeah, but he's got a kid coming, so he might already have
Oh,
a girl.
yeah. I forgot about
I'm
that.
hoping he has a girl. He's got a kid coming.
Okay. All right.
I hope he gets to meet his
Boy,
gentleman.
yeah, the things men do to meet women these days. It's just all
What
right.
would be your best plan in general?
All right, Sarah, that was a great story. So we didn't get the woman's name,
No.
but somewhere in Chicago is a good Samaritan with a lot of courage.
Courageous woman. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. All right, Sarah, what's coming up next?
Next, we're talking to Barry County Sheriff Dar Leaf about the wisdom of an all-powerful federal police force. Then, in the shootingclasses.com self-defense report, we'll be speaking with firearms instructor Ryan Coe about the hazards of going home with strangers in our shootingclasses.com self-defense report.
All right, awesome. It's going to be fantastic. Between now and then, don't go away. Don't go out with strangers, and stay away from those kind of, and those terrible fish, too. All right, in the meantime, God bless and stay safe. We will be right back.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
At Center Shot Gun Range, we are passionate about training. Don't know where to start? We offer a 1-hour new shooter seminar to introduce you to the world of firearms and help you find training opportunities specific to you. Concealed carry, home defense, firearm safety, AR-15, private one-on-one training, custom training, or maybe you're on a security team looking to protect your church or business. We even offer weekday morning and evening classes. Center Shot Gun Range has you covered. Start your journey at centershotgunrange.com.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
Attention business owners. Are you leaving your website open to security issues and hacking due to a lack of maintenance or overseas outsourcing? Don't let that happen to your business. Choose experienced U.S.-based website developers that can customize your website to fit your specific needs. Appletree MediaWorks has been growing businesses online since 2009. With over 80 years of combined experience, their team conducts constant research and development to keep up with ever-changing online threats. Your website deserves the best protection available. Call Appletree MediaWorks today at 877-977-1364 to keep your website secure and grow your business online. Or visit appletree.media.
Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If this sounds good to you, you sound good to me. And I'd like to help you do those things. Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If you're looking for more excitement in your life, we have nothing to offer you. But if you are a thoughtful, responsible, nonviolent man or woman, we'd love to teach you what to do if something crazy happens. More importantly, we'd like to teach you what not to do. We currently have over 500,000 members. They are doctors and single moms and firemen and grandmothers and veterans and Democrats and Republicans and members of every faith. But the one thing they all have in common is that they know exactly what to do if something crazy happens. When you're with one of our members, you are safe. Our members know how to de-escalate situations. They know how to calm things down. We are the United States Concealed Carry Association. See what we're all about at usconcealedcarry.com.
Discover the little-known backstory of the U.S. Concealed Carry Association at usconcealedcarry.com.
Liberals hate him, small children fear him, but God keeps on loving him anyway. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was the beautiful and sultry voice of Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show. Folks, we live in a dangerous world, and I want you to be able to protect and defend the ones you love. And that's why I have this show. It's my way of empowering you to accomplish one of your primary jobs in life. You are a protector and a defender. All right, listeners, before we get too far into the show, don't forget to check out our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range, and Apple Tree Media. Without our sponsors, this show wouldn't be on the air, so we thank you all. And now I want to welcome a friend of mine back to the show, a friend of many moons and decades, Sheriff Dar Leaf from Berry County, from whence I hail. Dar, welcome back to the Home Defense Show.
Whence you hail.
I hail from the teeny little tiny town of Orangeville, and you've been there.
That's a metropolis. Come on.
Well, what do we have? We've got a bar. We've got a gas station, and then a bunch of churches around the bar. That's basically, there's like 5 churches. 1 bar, 5 churches.
And a hair salon.
Yeah, that's a hair salon. That's right. And the fire barn.
Yeah.
But, oh, yeah, boy, I could tell you some stories about Orangeville, but you could probably tell me a few stories as well.
I just want to let everybody out there, they're not stories. It actually happened.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. But, when you embellish them, they become stories and the stuff of legend. So I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Just to start out here, how long have you been sheriff?
I just did my 20th year last year.
Wow. That makes you
old.
Wise. Yeah. Wise, experienced, and old. Funny how they seem to go together, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of humbling too when I think about it, because I've gone all over the country to talk to sheriffs about being sheriff, and because I got a lot of education now on the common law, the inherited duties that we've had that come over from England over here when we first started this country.
Probably some of the listeners don't even know what common law means. Like, explain common law to them.
Explain common law. Common law, I always said common law and common sense kind of go hand in hand.
Well,
basically what common law is we have laws that are just one of these things. Well, no kidding, that's against the law. It's illegal to murder somebody. Well, then you had the common law aspect to it is years and years and years of courts' decisions on behavior of men. And it goes for everything from property to murder to rape. And that's basically what the common law is. I don't have an actually good definition here to sit in front of me. I could read to you, but if you understand it as it's court decisions from years and years and years ago, then all these other decisions that kind of rooted from that we're using today.
Mm-hmm. So if someone wants to look it up, to study it, where would they go?
Oh, one of the best places to look anything up is Chris Ann Hall's website. I think it's libertyfirst.com. I'm going by memory, something like that. And she has a whole slew of stuff there on the office of the sheriff. And it was kind of nice because I was doing my own research and I went all the way back to King Alfred the Great. And that's back when the Danes were trying to take over Great Britain. And people got to understand when Great Britain was divided up in shires, and each shire had their king. And so the Danes started going in there and taking over slowly and methodically. And then what happened is the remaining kings said, hey, we got to do something about this. So what they did is they got King Alfred the Great to be the commander-in-chief of their military, so he could coordinate the military and push the Danes or the Vikings back off their soil. So the office of the sheriff, I traced it all the way back to those years. And basically what it was is he was the enforcement for the king. Here in this country, the king are the people. And the shires they had back then are what we call counties today.
Ah, okay. Got it. The office of sheriff, is that enshrined anywhere in the Constitution?
No. See, the Constitution was creating a new government. They didn't need to do that because that office already existed. So that's why you don't see that in the United States Constitution. And people get it. I see letters to the editor, people going, oh, nowhere in the Constitution is the sheriff. Well, first of all, it is in the state Constitution, Article 7, Section 4. And then in the United States Constitution, they didn't need to put it in there because the office already existed. And if you go look at it, let's break it down a little bit, because your sheriff is your chief law enforcement officer or chief executive for your county, just like your president is your chief executive for the federal government. So you got president, vice president. So if anything happens to the president, you got the vice president can fill in. Governor, lieutenant governor, and the governor is the chief executive for the state. And then you have the sheriff and under sheriff. All of those sheriff and under sheriffs and governor, lieutenant governor, those are all mandated positions because that's how important the office is.
Oh, okay. All right. Does every state in the country have a provision in their state constitution for the county sheriff?
No, you got some states that don't have sheriffs. They rely on their state police.
Ooh, those would be blue states, maybe.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Connecticut being one. Alaska doesn't have sheriffs either. I think like Anchorage will have their own police department. They're not. Alaska's not even broke up into counties because there's so much federal land up there.
Oh, okay. Got it. Well, there's one question, and what we've been talking about just now kind of leads into it. I ran across this on the internet, and I think this concept has been batted around for decades. And it was just an internet thing that I ran across. And the question is, would the United States of America benefit from a single federal police that would replace all state and county police forces? What's your opinion on that?
If we became a communist country, absolutely. That'd be best for the communists.
Okay.
But if you want a free country, you do not ever give up any of your authority. And your sheriff is the only elected law enforcement officer in the country. Do not give that up. That'd be absurd.
I didn't realize that. The chief of police, those are appointed, right? What, by the mayor or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
they're bureaucrats.
Yeah. Well, the KGB and, Hitler would disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
I mean, because it worked really well for them.
Yes, it did. But not for everybody else.
Well, I was doing research online when I was, getting ready for this interview. And of course, you can find anything and any point of view on the internet because it's just so diverse and actually crazy sometimes. But, one of the arguments for having a federal police force and having all of the state, the county underneath that was that it would standardize policing and cut down on corruption. What do you say to that?
Hello, FBI.
That was low-hanging fruit, wasn't it?
Didn't we learn anything from that? That's why we have all these different police agencies. And that's why you have a sheriff, because a sheriff, let me ask you this. Let's go to state police. If you were upset with a lieutenant who was running his troopers here in your county, could you fire that lieutenant? Could you go put him up for a recall?
No.
Yeah. So who has that say?
The governor, I guess.
Yes. And who usually picks your governor?
Well,
It's done by
ideally,
vote, but it's
ideally
usually
we
your
do,
big
but
cities. So that's what you're
well,
going to
yeah,
end up
yeah.
with is city law, not common law.
Hmm.
So they're going to run everything like they run in the cities. So that's what I like about being a county sheriff. I can do it my way. I can do what I think is best for my community.
So who does the sheriff work for then?
The people of his county. He has no bosses except for them.
Yeah.
And it's
So,
supposed to be that way. It was designed to be that way. So the county board of commissioners, I've had, like I said, this is my 20th year. I don't think there's any fight that I haven't taken on with the commissioners. And it's funny because you get a new group of commissioners and you're kind of taking on the same fights you took over way back in 2005, 2006. And I
yeah.
don't want to call them fights or disagreements. And you don't want that board to tell you what to do.
Hmm.
And it's funny because people think it's like a city council, where the city council kind of dictates to the police chief what he's going to do. Well, the sheriff's different because he's an independent elected office. He's part of a sovereign. If you go read the Mac Prince case, and there's a great quote that Justice Scalia put in here. He says, "But the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. It divides power among sovereigns and among branches of government." Well, what does it mean by power among sovereigns? Well, sovereigns would be your sovereign states. We have power divided up among your sovereign constitutional offices, like the clerk, the treasurer. County board of commissioners can't go in there and start telling the treasurer how to do their job. The treasurer can go thumb her nose at him and tell him go get out of her office. Nor can the treasurer go on into the county board of commissioner and say, "Hey, you got to do this, this, and this." No, it's not their job.
Hmm. So it's like
Anyway,
a separation of powers at the county
power.
level?
But it divides power among sovereigns. What are sovereigns? Well, I'm a sovereign, independent, elected office.
Yeah.
And that's
And
what people have a hard time understanding, especially at the township level. You get a township supervisor who thinks that they're in charge because they got elected supervisor. Well, go read the statute on a supervisor. Has nothing to do with them being in charge. They run the meetings. There's some supervisory duties, but they cannot go out and dictate to the other independent elected offices there on how to vote.
Yeah. For me personally, I've always advocated for local control simply because, man, it's easier for the people to replace a corrupt elected official at the county level, at the township level, even at the state level than it is to go all the way up to the federal level. I mean, man,
It's easier to catch them.
well, that's true. Yes, that too. You can't replace them unless you know they're doing something wrong.
We got a school board here locally, and they brought some person from the outside in. They're trying to get them all to do this contract, agreeing that they're going to be a unified board. And I'm sitting there going, "You're going to? They want you to sign what?" And I'm sitting there going, "No, you don't have to sign that. You're an independent elected office. You're there to do a job."
Mm-hmm.
As well, we're getting a lot of heat for not signing it. And I go, "Well, stay strong and
Yeah,
just be reasonable about your answers. Just say, I don't need to sign that thing. I'm here to do a job. I don't need another contract on top of the promise I made to the people."
yeah, yeah. That's for sure. And one of the reasons that you are so popular in your own county is because you really do answer to the people, and your own conscience. But you stay pretty square on that. And so, people tend to like you in Berry County, but I've always seen Berry County as kind of a special place. It's special. I mean, all around us, we have, more urban counties, more
Yeah.
populous counties, but in Berry County, it's not like that. And not even in 2025, it's not like that at all.
Right. Well, I like it here too. I turned down a job at Kent County and back when I was a deputy, and here I am running the sheriff's office now.
Yeah. Well, it worked for you. It worked for us too. But the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. That's one of my favorite sayings, and that was Thomas Jefferson. And boy, it just when people get distracted and they don't pay attention and they stop getting involved in politics and keeping their local officials, accountable, then all hell breaks loose, and we end up with, President Obama, or Joe
Hmm.
Biden. It's just terrible. People have to get involved in politics, even though most people don't want to. Most good people, they don't want to get involved in politics. They just want to, go to work hard. They want to get paid, get a raise. They want to go on vacation. They want to get off work at 5 o'clock so they can see their kids' soccer game. And I understand that. I'm that way too. But talk about the importance of getting involved in politics for the average citizen at every level.
Well, because most of your politics start out at the local level, and that includes your politics at church. Don't be afraid to get involved in that. When you get involved here, especially at a local level, what it does is it keeps the riffraff out. How do you say, the rhinos? I think here in Berry County, we're mostly Republican, somewhere around 65-70% Republican. And it would be nothing for somebody who's really a Democrat to run as a Republican just to get into office. And also they start trying to swing your county a little bit to the left. So yeah, it's very, very important to keep on top of that. Your school boards, I can't beg people enough to get involved in their school boards, because they're the ones who are basically deciding what to feed your children, feed their brains.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
The school boards, when they were masked, no mask, and they wanted to mask all these children on up, when reality is that virus wasn't killing children. So why are we masking our children up in the schools, especially the elementary? They're learning how to talk. They're learning how to enunciate words. They have to watch how your mouth moves and your lips move as you talk, and then you mask them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my wife's a school teacher, and she had a couple of the students bring up puke-filled mask to her.
Oh,
Miss
gosh.
Beef, and it's like, well, at least it didn't get on the carpet, right?
Yeah, I know. That was such a frustrating time for me, Dar, because I was one of the guys who just said, no, I'm not going to mask up. You put me in jail if you want to, but I can't tell you how many places I got kicked out of, like stores and gas stations, because I refused to mask up. And what I had to do is I just had to find a couple of little mom and pops places that were willing to let me come in, at risk to themselves, to let me come in and buy my groceries. I mean, I bought my stinking groceries for over a year at a dollar store, because, and a couple times I drove down to Indiana to buy my groceries, but it's like that story about the emperor's new clothes. To
Right.
me, I didn't want to participate in a lie. And after all my own independent research, I just decided, there's two kinds of doctors. There's the doctors that work for the government, and there's doctors that are independent. The independent doctors were saying, we don't understand what's going on here. Why is Fauci making us do all this stuff? And I took a hard stand on that. I never got vaccinated and never wore the mask. And fortunately, I'm self-employed, so I was able to do that. But man, a lot of people didn't, and look all the stuff that's coming out now.
Look at the employers that are getting sued and losing because they forced that vax.
Yeah. Well, and all the health problems too.
The hospitals here.
Yeah. Well, I hope they do get sued. I really do, because someone has to be held accountable for this. Big corporations. Man, the last 5 years, they have they bought into a lot of stuff, DEI and the vaccine and masking and all of that stuff. And they have a huge amount of control over the general population, because that's how we get paid. That's how we feed our family.
Oh, yeah. And it's kind of funny, because I went to paramedic training just right here at Davenport College, and I'll never forget that nurse when we were talking about masks, and she come right out and said, she says, when you're talking about viruses and stuff like that, because you get in the back of an ambulance and it really exposes you. And she said, if you can smell a fart through the mask, you can get a virus through it.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
well, that
I
makes
shared
sense.
that. Well, I remembered it the way she put it. I remembered that. And that was back in 1987, 88, something like that.
Mm-hmm. So viruses haven't changed.
Yes. And that was my point, is everybody's going lockdown, getting in the fetal position. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably going to catch it. You're probably going to have to deal with it. because it's a virus. It's airborne. It's not like AIDS, where you could avoid it by not having sex with people who had AIDS. It was airborne.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, I had people calling me up saying, hey, this is a bioweapon, which made sense to me because they didn't like Donald Trump getting in office. And so I saw a bigger picture on it. And then when they started doing these executive orders, and I'm going, under what authority? There's nothing in there. So I bring out that quote right there I just read to you, that the Constitution protects us for our own best intentions. It divides power among sovereigns and among branches of government precisely so that we may resist the temptation to concentrate power in one location as an expedient solution to the crisis of the day. The Constitution isn't in charge, not our governor. Our representatives are not allowed delegating their authority on. It's their authority. We elected them to have that authority.
Well, it seems to me that freedom is it's like it's on a pendulum and it swings back and forth. You know, you can call it left, right, whatever, and it's always moving as far as, and it depends on how involved people are. The more involved people are, then the more freedom that we tend to have, and that's what we've seen in this last presidential election.
Yeah, good versus evil never goes away. It's constant maintenance. We let it slide a long ways right now, so we got a big hole to climb out of.
Oh gosh, yes. How do you feel about the job that Donald Trump is doing right now?
Well, so far, yes. It's about time. All that stuff was long overdue. The auditing, all those I don't want to call them organizations, all the alphabet soup and all that.
Yeah,
that needed to happen. And, I look at some of the waste we have here at the local level, and I'm going, wow, imagine that when they're talking about budget of $4 or $5 trillion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a lot of waste.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, Dar, we are about out of time. But
I'm gonna leave you with a quote.
Oh, okay.
This will be your new favorite one.
All right.
I put it at the, how you can do a signature at the end of your emails.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine says, every now and then in life, you have to look Goliath in the eye and say, hey, I have a rock with your name on it.
That's a good one. That is a good one. All right. Well, hey, Dar, what's the Berry County Sheriff's website in case people want to check it out?
All you got to do is type in Berry County, Michigan. There's a Berry County, Missouri. And people confuse us all the time. It was the same mail carrier that Berry County was named after.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so just look up Berry County, Michigan, and it should pop right on up.
Alrighty. Awesome. Okay. Well, Dar, thank you very much for being on Home Defense Show today. We appreciate your candor.
Yeah. Well, thanks. It was a lot of fun.
All right. This is Skip Coryell on Home Defense Show. Coming up next, we'll get some expert advice on the details of self-defense in our shootingclasses.com self-defense report with firearms instructor Ryan Coe from the great state of North Carolina. All right, folks, during the break, I want you to log into rumble.com and search on the Home Defense Show. I've posted a series of entertaining and educational videos there just for you. Check them out, and don't forget to like, share, and follow. God bless and stay safe, because we will be right back.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
At Center Shot Gun Range, we are passionate about training. Don't know where to start? We offer a 1-hour new shooter seminar to introduce you to the world of firearms and help you find training opportunities specific to you. Concealed carry, home defense, firearm safety, AR-15, private one-on-one training, custom training, or maybe you're on a security team looking to protect your church or business. We even offer weekday morning and evening classes. Center Shot Gun Range has you covered. Start your journey at centershotgunrange.com.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
Attention business owners. Are you leaving your website open to security issues and hacking due to a lack of maintenance or overseas outsourcing? Don't let that happen to your business. Choose experienced U.S.-based website developers that can customize your website to fit your specific needs. Apple Tree Media Works has been growing businesses online since 2009. With over 80 years of combined experience, their team conducts constant research and development to keep up with ever-changing online threats. Your website deserves the best protection available. Call Apple Tree Media Works today at 877-977-1364 to keep your website secure and grow your business online. Or visit appletree.media.
Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If this sounds good to you, you sound good to me. And I'd like to help you do those things. Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If you're looking for more excitement in your life, we have nothing to offer you. But if you are a thoughtful, responsible, nonviolent man or woman, we'd love to teach you what to do if something crazy happens. More importantly, we'd like to teach you what not to do. We currently have over 500,000 members. They are doctors and single moms and firemen and grandmothers and veterans and Democrats and Republicans and members of every faith. But the one thing they all have in common is that they know exactly what to do if something crazy happens. When you're with one of our members, you are safe. Our members know how to de-escalate situations. They know how to calm things down. We are the United States Concealed Carry Association. See what we're all about at usconcealedcarry.com.
Discover the little-known backstory of the U.S. Concealed Carry Association at usconcealedcarry.com.
Some say his face is painfully ugly, and I agree. But who cares? This is radio. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was the beautiful and sultry voice of Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show. And I'm your host, Skip Coryell. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, Apple Tree Media, and Center Shot Indoor Gun Range for all your training and equipment needs. And now it's time for our weekly self-defense report, sponsored by shootingclasses.com. And today we're speaking with firearms instructor Ryan Coe from the great state of North Carolina. Ryan, thanks for coming back on the show today.
Hey, Skip, thanks for having me.
Well, how are things in North Carolina? Are you keeping Camp Lejeune under wraps for me?
Yeah, man. Business is great. Students are happy. It's been great weather the last couple weeks, so we are blessed for sure.
All right, fantastic. All right, we got a wild story here to talk about, so let me launch right into that, and then I'm going to get your take on it, okay?
Perfect.
All right, the title is North Carolina Kidnapper Intended to Kill Woman for the Thrill, deputies say. This is out of Rowan County, North Carolina. A North Carolina man locked a woman in his house and attacked her with a knife with intention of killing her, deputies said. On Wednesday, a person contacted deputies and reported seeing a woman who had been attacked by a man she met earlier that day. Hunter Chase Nance, age 24, had approached the woman at a gas station and the two exchanged phone numbers. Later that day, he offered to pick the woman up and bring her to his home. She agreed. When they were at Nance's home, he locked the door and attacked her with a knife. The woman fought back and was able to get the knife away from Nance, suffering cuts on her hands before she was able to escape. Concerned citizens called authorities to report seeing the injured woman walking on the roadway. Deputies and paramedics responded to assist her. During an investigation, Nance was identified as the suspect and found at his home on Peaceful Lane outside of China Grove. Nance was arrested for false imprisonment and assault with a deadly weapon. During an interview, Nance revealed that he had intended to ultimately kill the woman. He admitted that he chose the woman at random and wanted to kill her for the thrill. He described gory details of his plan, including mutilating her and leaving her body for passing cars to see. Nance also expressed interest in cannibalism and the desire to kill others. He was charged with first-degree kidnapping. Nance was issued a $600,000 bond. I'm not sure that was enough, but...
Right.
All right, well, Ryan, what are your first impressions on this? There's a lot there.
Yeah, so this hits home for me. It's about an hour from my house, and one of the guys on staff is with the Rowan County Sheriff's Office. So it's one of those, articles that you read and you're like, man, that hits a little close to home.
Yeah.
So a couple of things, man, that stood out to me as far as, the gas station meetup. I'm going out on the limb and say she was not chosen at random. And I believe that most people are targeted rather than or chosen rather than just, a coincidental. She was probably an easy target, exchanged phone numbers, willing to go back to the house. There may have been a monetary exchange just based on the fact she didn't call 911 herself. She was walking down the road, and so I'm sure it was not so much just a random, but rather a target of choice. And then the fact that he uses a weapon, which is a blade. Most of our untrained, unskilled attackers that we see, they choose knives, and then we see these defensive wounds to the hands, where especially someone who's not as trained in self-defense will put up their hands in a defensive posture, and these assailants usually will, what we refer to the term, whittle. They will slash at hands, slash at hands, slash at hands naturally, the thing that they can reach. And people will tend to draw their hands back, just like touching a hot stove. They'll jerk their hand back until the assailant closes that gap from that defensive posture which has been let down. Those hands are bleeding, they're immobilized, and then they get those vital organ punctures that we see often. And so it doesn't take a lot of training on the assailant side to grab a kitchen knife and do some serious damage just by slicing, at those hands and getting that defensive posture dropped. It's amazing that she was able to fight him off, and that's always, our recommendation in these situations is, get out as soon as possible, be a hard target. Too often people will, it's the fight, flight, freeze, freak out, and then they'll play along, they don't know what to do, they'll freeze, they'll pause. It's that dump of that central nervous system, but the chances of survival start to dwindle more and more the more time you spend in these circumstances. And so it's great that she was able to fight her way out and get out as soon as possible, for sure. Very interesting case.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things struck me. First, it just seems like what we might have here, and it might come out later in trial and all of that, is we have like a Jeffrey Dahmer wannabe, a future serial killer who was like early in his, so-called career.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad he got caught on the first try, if it indeed was the first try, simply because may have saved a lot of innocent lives. It struck me as he lived on, what was it, Peaceful Lane?
Peaceful. I'm glad you
Yes.
caught that. I did too.
Yeah. I mean, not quite as peaceful as we'd like it to be, but you made some real good, interesting points on knife attacks, right? Geez, with knives, pretty much you just, unless you're, real experience in martial arts and you've practiced disarming or protecting against knives, there's not a huge amount that you can do other than create distance and put obstacles between you and the knife, is there?
Yeah, absolutely. And just like you said, I mean, we teach bladed weapons and all the way beginner through advanced, and rule of the knife fight is everybody gets cut. I mean, even if you're real trained in bladed weapons, disarming, I mean, the chances of you getting cut is extremely high. And
Yeah.
it doesn't take a skilled attacker, to be deadly with a blade. And that's why so many of these attackers, before they evolve, like you said early on, I hate to use the word career, but early on in their, and I quote, career, they do go for blades, just because anybody can buy one. They're sitting around the kitchen, open up a drawer and pull one out, and they're so easy to use, with force versus a firearm or something, more detailed. It's just an extension of the body is all the blade is. And, we use them every day to cut open boxes and to do things. And so, yeah, we see these early onset criminals usually go for a blade, especially someone here where clearly there is, a mental issue of some kind. If you want to consume another human or kidnap or kill another human, to me, there's something mentally wrong, and
Yeah.
so they usually do. It's funny, serial killers like these, they usually go for blades, just because of the complexity and the lack of training, and it is hard. It's hard to get them away.
Yeah. And it seems like people who prefer to use knives over a gun, which is, more of a distance use weapon. With a blade, you have to actually touch the person and use your own force, driving the knife into them, cutting, slashing, tearing. It seems like, because they're, I don't know, what do you call it, mentally ill or evil or crazy, they want
Right.
that sense of intimacy that the physical
Yes.
touch brings. And it's like people who kill with a knife, they're just not all there. They're like a half a bubble off plum, I think.
Yeah, a few French fries short of a complete Happy Meal.
Yes, that's
Absolutely.
right.
I mean, it is. They like that intimacy. It's the same people that choose strangulation. It's so much more of an intimate crime, and they don't think it's as complex, but it really very much is.
Yeah. Well, this one sentence here. Hunter Chase Nance, age 24, had approached a woman at a gas station and the two exchanged phone numbers. You know, there's no way I would want my daughter to be, I don't know, I'm trying to be nice here, that
Right.
naive. Um, I mean, it's just, I mean, what an honor to be his chosen one, right? I mean, this is just crazy. You just can't go home with someone that you've never met before, but I know it happens all the time at bars and here at a gas station. Young women they got to wake up. They can't be doing this stuff.
Yeah, we just taught a situational awareness class this past weekend, and I asked. It was a pretty heavily female attendance, and I asked it, how many of you guys have met strangers off of dating apps in the last 6 months? And about half the class raised their hand. I said, how many
Oh
of you guys
my
have been in a
gosh.
car with a stranger, in a vehicle with a stranger in the last 6 months? Not Uber, not, but somebody you met going home, going. And one girl, raised her hand. She said, I just, had a weird feeling. She said, the guy wanted me to go back and meet his dog. So I met him, on Hinge or Tinder. And she said, I just went back to his house to meet his dog. And she said, it was okay, but just a little weird. And I thought, man, so I started giving some statistics and things. I was like, guys, we got to change. But it's become such a norm in society now
Yeah.
that people don't think twice about it.
Well, yeah, everyone, young people especially, they're just so virtual. Everything happens on the computer. It starts there, it ends there. It's just crazy. But one thing that I tell my students is you can't ignore your gut instincts because when that woman she felt a little weird. Don't put yourself in weird situations because your gut instincts are there for a reason and they can save your life. And when you ignore them, man, you can get hurt real bad. You can die. You can be abducted, imprisoned, eaten, you know. So,
Right.
man,
Trust
what
your
else?
gut. Something I tell every student. Trust your gut. It is on a biological level. It is there to keep you alive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this guy, he was 24 years old, wanted to eat someone, kill someone, mutilate them. I'd be interested in knowing this guy's backstory. Not that it makes any difference, just that, as like an academic study, I always wonder. I'm fascinated in a bad way with serial killers, serial rapists, things like that, as far as studying them and saying, what makes these people the way that they are? Probably because I'm a novelist and, I write about, some of my characters are crazy people, right? But man, I don't want to meet this guy ever again.
No,
And you live an hour away from, I would say an hour is not far enough.
that's not far enough. And yeah, I'm like you. I love to know what makes these people, tick. And I always say these type of people and criminals in general, 90% of them do not just snap. I do believe in targets of opportunity. You're a criminal who needs a fix, an addict. And so you do, need something. So you go out and try to get it. But most of the time, especially people like this, they don't snap. And the news media always says, he just snapped, the active shooter, he snapped or they did this. But
Hmm.
normally, if you really study it out, they ultimately decide they don't snap. And there's a lot of decisions along the way. He said he randomly chose this woman on a random afternoon, but at the end of the day, he'd already planned all kinds of things to do to her. So there's a lot of decisions along the way. And so, just like you, I want to know what events played into that decision-making process.
Yeah, it probably happened over months or possibly even years. People have to listen to their self-talk, their thoughts. What am I thinking right now? When you catch yourself thinking things that you really shouldn't be thinking, you need to slap yourself and get a grip and just say, hey, that's not appropriate. Don't think this way. These kind of people, do they tend to be loners, or are they, socially, fluent? What do you know about that?
So most of the time, these people are very much loners. If you look at what they call the lethal triad, of serial killers, whether it's arson, bedwetting, and mutilation to animals. I mean, that's like the 3 steps on the way to, to be a serial killer. Most of the time, if you even look at like a Ted Bundy, they might come off as very extroverted, very friendly, very successful, but on the inside, when you really boil down to it, they very much are isolated, very much are introverts, very much are loners. They might put on a ruse, but at the end of the day, all it is a ruse and a means to an end. They have to put on that front, just like an actor playing a role, in order to get their mission accomplished. No different than an undercover asset. But at the end of the day, they 99% of the time usually are very much a loner, very much introverted, very much in their own head.
Yeah, it's like when something like this happens, they always interview the neighbors. And the neighbors, right. You'll hear them say, well, he was a good neighbor. He kind of kept to himself. He didn't bother anybody, that kind of thing. I mean, other than abducting women, cutting them up and eating them. He was a good neighbor.
Right. Jeffrey Dahmer's neighbors loved him. Yeah.
That's right.
Until the smell started.
He was a good neighbor, yeah. Oh, well, you mentioned bedwetting. I had heard, about cruelty to animals, but I hadn't heard bedwetting. And what was the third one that you said?
Yeah, so it is arson, it is bedwetting, and it is mutilation to animals. Those are the 3 key factors and indicators in determining if someone's going to become a serial killer or not.
Oh, wow. Arson,
and what they
mean
is bedwetting later
animals.
On in more adolescent teenage. Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, maybe because they're struggling inside. There's a battle going on inside them, and they're just kind of screwed up inside. Wow. All right. Well, hey, you did a great job analyzing all that. You taught me a few things, and I'm sure you taught the listeners some things as well. We're out of time, but before we go, please tell people how they can get a hold of you or maybe do some of your training.
Yeah, guys, just go to www.apexdefensegroup.com or find us on Facebook or Instagram, Apex Defense Group.
ApexDefenseGroup.com and also shootingclasses.com. Ryan, thank you very much for being on the show today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Skip.
All right, folks, that about wraps it up for this week's show. I've had a good time, and I hope you have too. Please don't forget to thank our sponsors, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range at centershotgunrange.com, shootingclasses.com to help you find the right trainer for your needs, Apple Tree Media for website security, and the United States Concealed Carry Association. For all your self-defense needs, go to uscca.com. All right, I've written 20-plus books, and they're all available on Amazon.com in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. This week, check out my book, Self-Defense Scenarios. It's all about how to protect yourself when you're out on the streets. And also check out the Home Defense Show videos on rumble.com. And if you want training from me in person, then check out Midwest Tactical Training at shootingclasses.com. Please join us again next week for all your home defense needs. In the meantime, God bless and stay safe.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Home Defense Show. Now, get out there and protect the ones you love. We'll see you next week with more of the best.
Bye-bye, boys!
Have fun storming the castle!